The Titanic has offered an unprecedented insight into the ship's final moments. A detailed three-dimensional reconstruction of the wreck reveals engineers worked to keep the lights on even as the vessel sank.
At over 2 miles beneath the ocean's surface, where light has never touched and pressure could crush steel like paper, lies a name that still echoes through history: Titanic. For more than a century, this legendary ship has rested in silence, its story told and retold, but always from a distance. Now, for the very first time, cameras have slipped inside her broken frame, and what they captured is nothing short of haunting. This isn't the polished version we've seen in movies or museums. This is raw, untouched, and terrifyingly real. When the underwater drone descended into the abyss, it felt like a journey back in time. Its lights pierced through the blackness, illuminating fragments of a world that had been frozen for more than 100 years. The closer it got, the clearer. The outlines became twisted beams, collapsing decks. Windows that once looked out on endless ocean views, now staring blankly into eternal night. And then, almost suddenly, the drone slipped inside, crossing a threshold where no human eyes have looked since 1912. The silence was overwhelming, broken only by the hum of the drone. Corridors stretched out ahead, some partially collapsed, others eerily intact, lined with shadows that seemed almost alive. What it revealed was not just wreckage, but remnants of lives. A pair of shoes still resting neatly on the floor, as if someone had taken them off before bed. A child's porcelain doll half buried in the silt, its painted eyes staring endlessly into the darkness. Furniture, toppled, yet still recognizable. Whispering stories of luxury turned to tragedy. And then, perhaps most chilling of all, the footage showed a human-like form, covered by debris, motionless, unidentifiable. Experts can't confirm if it was truly what it appeared to be, or if it was just an illusion of shapes and shadows. But the image was enough to stop even seasoned explorers in their tracks. Because inside the Titanic, you're not just exploring a ship, you're walking through a graveyard. Every artifact, every corridor, every silent room is heavy with memory. The most breathtaking discovery came when the drone reached what was once the grand staircase. Though mostly collapsed, the sheer outline remained a ghostly silhouette of elegance now overtaken by rust and ruin. The lights reflected off fragments of railings, curved in a way that hinted at the scale of opulence once admired by the world's wealthiest passengers. In that moment, viewers weren't just seeing metal and decay. They were staring at a stage where countless human stories unfolded: dreams, ambitions, laughter, panic. But how could a machine, no larger than a suitcase, survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth to deliver images so powerful? The technology behind this mission is just as fascinating as the footage itself. At 12,500 feet down, pressure is more than 380 times what we experience on land. Any ordinary equipment would be instantly crushed. Yet this drone, crafted from titanium and reinforced with unbreakable materials, resisted forces that could flatten submarines. Its glass housing, thicker than a man's fist, protected cameras so advanced they could pick up the texture of a chair leg or the inscription on a luggage tag. Its lights were powerful, yet carefully balanced, bright enough to illuminate the Titanic's corridors, but subtle enough not to stir up clouds of silt that would swallow the view. Pilots on the surface, connected through a tether that stretched miles down, guided the drone. Like surgeons navigating through veins, a single wrong move could trap it inside collapsing debris. That tether wasn't just its lifeline, it was the channel that brought the Titanic back to us in real time. Every flicker, every object, every chilling discovery appeared on screens above, as if history itself were broadcasting live. For decades, divers and submarines could only glance at Titanic's outer shell. But now, with this drone, the barriers are broken. Rooms sealed for a century suddenly open their secrets. Dining areas, once filled with music and chatter, lie silent. Tables and glassware still scattered, as though the night of the sinking never ended. Storage rooms reveal luggage thrown violently. During the ship's final moments, wine bottles shattered, yet some still corked and sealed. Crew quarters, often overlooked in popular accounts, showed signs of resilience and despair, remnants of uniforms, tools, and the spaces where men lived and worked, far from the first-class luxury above. Each discovery raises new questions. Why are some fabrics and woods preserved almost perfectly, while others disintegrated into dust? The answer lies in the Titanic's resting place. In the freezing black of the North Atlantic, decay slows. With no sunlight and almost no oxygen, bacteria struggle to feast on organic materials. That's why a leather suitcase, untouched for a century, can still hold its shape, while the metal framework above it collapses into rust. It's a cruel paradox. What we expect to survive crumbles, and what we assume is fragile endures. But alongside these chilling discoveries comes a debate that won't go away. Should we even be here? For many, Titanic is not a shipwreck to be explored, but a grave. Over 1,500 lives ended here, and some of their remains may still lie hidden under layers of steel and silt. The drone's discovery of that human-like form reopened the ethical questions. How much do we show? How much do we hide? Where is the line between science and intrusion? The missions team debated fiercely before releasing any images, carefully selecting what the world would see. Always aware that every frame wasn't just about history, it was about memory and respect. And yet, the footage continues to reshape what we know about Titanic's final hours. Historians long debated how exactly the ship broke apart, which compartments flooded first, and how passengers moved during the chaos. The new images challenge assumptions. Hallways once thought intact are completely destroyed. Structural beams held longer than expected, altering theories about how the ship split. Suitcases piled in narrow corridors hint at frantic attempts to escape with belongings, offering human context to the mechanical failure. This is no longer just about blueprints and survivor testimonies. It's about seeing reality with our own eyes in haunting detail, and realizing that history has always been more complicated than we believed. But the footage also sparks urgency. The Titanic is deteriorating faster than many imagined. Rust, bacteria, and currents are eating away at what remains. Some areas captured by cameras may not survive another decade. Every expedition is now a race against time, not just to explore, but to preserve in memory what the ocean will eventually erase. Some scientists dream of preservation domes or underwater museums, ideas that sound impossible but may be the only way to keep parts of the wreck from disappearing. Others argue the Titanic should be left alone, allowed to return to the sea in peace. The question has no easy answer, but it's one that will define every future mission, and this drone mission is only the beginning. As technology advances, we'll see drones that are smaller, smarter, and more capable of exploring the tightest corners of the wreck. Imaging will improve until virtual reality can let anyone walk the Titanic's corridors from home, step into cabins untouched since 1912, and see the past as if it was still alive. It's breathtaking, but it's also unsettling, because the deeper we go, the closer we come to the faces and lives of those who never returned. The Titanic's story has been told countless times, but this footage forces us to feel it, not just know it. It forces us to imagine sitting in that dining room, walking down that staircase, or sleeping in that cabin. It strips away the myth and glamour, leaving behind the raw, terrifying reality. A ship that promised luxury and safety, but delivered tragedy and silence. Even now, more than a century later, the Titanic refuses to fade. It remains a warning, a mystery, and a mirror of our ambitions and our flaws. The drone's lights may go dark, but the images they captured will echo for generations, reminding us that beneath the waves, in eternal night, history is never truly gone. It waits, preserved in silence, for us to rediscover. And with each rediscovery, the same haunting question lingers. How much longer can the Titanic keep its secrets? And what else is waiting to be uncovered in the darkness of the deep? At 12,500 feet below the surface, the Titanic rests in frozen silence, but something just broke that silence. For the first time, an advanced underwater drone has ventured inside the legendary shipwreck. Capturing footage so eerie, so intimate, It left even hardened explorers speechless. This wasn't just another dive. It was a haunting descent into history's most iconic maritime grave. What the cameras found deep in the abyss is both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. Descent into darkness. The most terrifying footage, yet the moment the underwater drone slipped inside the Titanic wreck, it was like stepping into a completely different world. The cameras started by shining a steady beam through the thick darkness, slowly revealing what lay inside. What they found wasn't just a pile of rusted metal, it was the inside of a ship frozen in time. With surprising details still intact after more than 100 years underwater. As the drone moved deeper, it passed through a collapsed section of the hull and entered the interior corridors. The cold water and lack of oxygen have preserved some parts better than anyone expected. You could clearly see remnants of the ship's once luxurious rooms, old furniture, pieces of clothing, even personal items like shoes and a child's porcelain doll still sitting quietly in the silt. One of the most striking parts of the footage is the grand staircase area. This was one of the Titanic's most famous features, a grand sweeping staircase that first-class passengers would have used to get around. Of course, it's no longer the beautiful structure it once was. The wood has mostly rotted away, and parts have collapsed, but the shape and scale are still impressive. The drone's lights captured the outlines of the iron railings and some of the decorative details, reminding viewers just how grand the ship once was. Moving through narrow hallways coated in layers of sediment, the drone eventually reached rooms that had never been explored before. The silence inside the wreck was almost palpable through the footage. No sound except for the slight hum of the drone's equipment. In one room, the drone's cameras caught what looked like a human-shaped form under some debris. Experts aren't sure whether it's a body or just a collection of materials arranged in a way that looks like one. But the image was powerful enough to raise important questions about the mission. It's not just about what's there, but the emotional weight of disturbing such a sight. For many, the Titanic isn't just a shipwreck. It's a graveyard for over 1,500 people who lost their lives that night. The team behind the mission took great care in how they handled the footage and even debated how much to share publicly. Ultimately, they chose to release only selected images, respecting the memory of those who died. The footage from the drone offers a rare glimpse into a place almost nobody has seen before, giving historians and scientists valuable information about the ship's current condition and how it's deteriorating over time. But it also forces us to think about how we approach sites like this, balancing curiosity and respect. But how exactly did this tiny underwater drone manage to explore such a deep, dark, and dangerous place where humans simply can't go? Meet the underwater drone if you've ever wondered how technology can take us to places no human could safely go. The underwater drone that explored the Titanic wreck is a perfect example. It's not just a camera on a cable. It's an engineering marvel designed for one of the most extreme environments on Earth. The Titanic rests around 3,800 meters below the ocean surface in the North Atlantic. At that depth, the pressure is enormous, roughly 380 times the pressure we feel at sea level. Imagine standing at the bottom of a swimming pool the size of several football fields stacked on top of each other. The force, pushing on every square inch of the drone, is enough to crush ordinary materials instantly. Because of this, the drone has to be built with super strong materials. The core frame is usually made from titanium or other high-strength metals that can resist bending or breaking under pressure. The camera housing uses thick, reinforced glass or acrylic that won't shatter. Every connection, seal, and joint must be perfectly engineered to keep water out. Even the tiniest leak would mean disaster. It's pitch black down there. No sunlight penetrates 12,000 feet below the surface, so the drone has to carry its own light source. This drone is equipped with high-powered LED lights that produce a bright, white light strong enough to illuminate the Titanic's corridors, staircases, and cabins. But lighting isn't as simple as just shining a flashlight around. In water, light scatters and fades quickly, especially when there's silt or particles floating around. Too much light can also stir up sediment, creating clouds that obscure the view. So, operators have to balance brightness carefully, enough to see clearly, but not so much that it ruins the footage. One of the biggest challenges for the drone is maneuvering inside the wreck. The Titanic is a tangled, unstable mess after over a century underwater. Parts of it have collapsed, while others hang precariously. The drone has to squeeze through narrow hallways, sometimes only a few feet wide. Avoiding sharp metal edges and unstable debris, traditional underwater drones are often designed for open water exploration, large, bulky, and not very agile. This drone is different. It's smaller, lighter, and highly maneuverable, with thrusters placed strategically to allow it to move up, down, side to side, and even hover in place precisely. Pilots control the drone remotely from a ship on the surface, using real-time video feeds and data from onboard sensors. It's like flying a drone through a dark underwater maze with no room for error. One wrong move could damage the fragile wreck or trap the drone itself. The cameras on this drone aren't your average GoPro. They capture ultra-high-definition video that lets researchers zoom in on tiny details like inscriptions on luggage tags or the texture of a wooden chair. Some drones are equipped with stereo cameras or laser scanners that create detailed 3D maps of the interior spaces. These 3D models are invaluable for scientists and historians. They allow experts to virtually walk through the Titanic on a computer, examine fragile areas without physical disturbance, and track how the wreck is deteriorating over time. Unlike autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs that operate independently, this drone is tethered to the surface ship by a long, strong cable. The tether serves two important purposes. It supplies power to the drone and transmits video and sensor data back in real time. This setup means the operators can see exactly what the drone is seeing and react instantly to what's ahead. It also allows for longer dive times, since the drone doesn't rely on battery power alone. However, the tether can be a limitation in tight spaces, so pilots have to carefully manage its slack and avoid getting tangled. Controlling a drone inside the Titanic is no easy job, but technology helps make it safer and more efficient. The drone features AI-assisted navigation tools that help avoid collisions with walls and debris. Sensors detect proximity and automatically stabilize the drone if it starts drifting due to underwater currents. This AI doesn't replace the pilot, but acts like an extra pair of eyes and reflexes, especially helpful in low visibility or cluttered environments. It helps prevent accidents that could not only destroy parts of the wreck, but also potentially lose the drone in the depths. You might wonder, why not just send divers? The answer lies in the extreme environment. At 12,500 feet, human divers can't survive, even with the best gear. The pressure would instantly crush a diver's suit, and the cold temperatures and total darkness make it impossible to operate safely. While deep diving submersibles do exist, they're bulky, expensive, and risky. They also can't access the narrow spaces inside the Titanic wreck like the drone can. So, drones offer the best balance of safety, precision, and cost for exploring these depths. This underwater drone represents the cutting edge of deep-sea exploration technology. As these systems improve, we'll be able to explore more wrecks, underwater caves, and ecosystems never before seen by human eyes. For the Titanic, this means better documentation, preservation, and perhaps new discoveries that help us understand the ship's final hours. Mapping the graveyard thanks to the drone's unprecedented access and advanced technology. Researchers have uncovered a lot more about the Titanic wreck than ever before. This isn't just about seeing the ship from the outside anymore. It's about understanding the inside in stunning detail, which is reshaping what we know about the disaster and its aftermath. One of the biggest breakthroughs from the drone footage was getting into parts of the ship that had never been explored before. The Titanic wreck isn't just one big intact ship lying flat on the ocean floor. Over the years, it's shifted, broken apart, and collapsed in places. Some sections were simply too dangerous or too tight for previous expeditions to investigate. With the drone's small size and maneuverability, researchers managed to enter rooms and corridors deep inside the wreck, spaces that were essentially frozen in time since that tragic night in 1912. These newly accessed areas gave a fresh perspective on how the ship was constructed, how it fell apart, and how it's been changing under the sea. For decades, historians have relied on original Titanic blueprints and external observations to piece together the ship's layout. But now, with high-resolution 3D maps created from the drone's footage, experts can update those blueprints with actual current data.